Okay, so if you've been on social media lately, there's no way you've missed this one. It's called Berberine, and the buzz is, well, it's everywhere. Today, we're going to peel back all those layers of hype and get to the bottom of what's real and what's just noise with this massive internet health trend.
Right off the bat, it's got this super catchy, very powerful nickname, Nature's Ozempic. Whoa, that is a huge claim, right? Comparing a simple plant supplement to a major prescription weight loss drug. And honestly, that comparison is exactly why it's gone completely viral. So that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Is berberine really this natural miracle for weight loss and all-around metabolic health? Or is there a dark side to it? A potential menace that those viral videos just aren't mentioning? Let's dive in and find out. First things first, let's talk about that hype. I mean, the internet is just flooded with these incredible claims that berberine can help you lose a significant amount of weight, almost like magic. It's being sold as this natural, over-the-counter alternative to some really powerful medications, and you can see why that idea is so appealing. But before we get totally swept away, let's get grounded and figure out what we're actually talking about here.
So, what even is berberine? It's not some brand new thing cooked up in a lab. It's a bioactive compound, an alkaloid to be specific, that's been a staple in traditional Chinese and Indian medicine for literally thousands of years. So let's be clear, this isn't just some harmless herb. It's a really potent substance that has very real, measurable effects on the human body.
So what is this compound, and where does it actually come from? Well, it's not grown in a factory. It's extracted straight from the roots, stems, and bark of a bunch of different plants. And as you can see, berberine comes from quite a few places, like barberry, golden seal, and tree turmeric. For centuries, these plants were used in herbal medicine, mostly for things like treating diarrhea. It's kind of wild to think that today, that exact same compound is being packed into pills and sold for completely different modern issues like metabolic health.
Okay, let's get into the science of it all. How does a plant extract actually do anything to our blood sugar or our weight? Well, the way it works is actually pretty well understood, and it all comes down to flipping a single master switch inside our cells. This is pretty much how it goes down. Berberine gets inside your cells and it flips on an enzyme called AMPK. Now, the easiest way to think about AMPK is as your body's metabolic master switch. When you turn that switch on, your body basically stops storing fat and starts burning energy instead. This process also makes your body way better at using sugar, which improves your insulin sensitivity. The key here is that this is all happening at a really fundamental cellular level. And this whole mechanism is especially important for one group in particular, people with polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. A huge chunk of them, we're talking up to 70%, really struggle with insulin resistance. It's one of the main things driving their symptoms. So yeah, a compound that might improve insulin sensitivity, that's a very, very big deal for them. For folks with PCOS, the potential benefits could be pretty significant. Some research suggests berberine can help get blood sugar under control, lower those elevated testosterone levels, lead to more regular periods, and even help with cholesterol. These aren't just minor tweaks. These get right to the heart of the metabolic problems that come with the condition. But let's get back to the big claim, the reason it's even called Nature's Ozempic in the first place, weight loss. Okay, this is where the hype kind of slams into reality. When you look at a review of the actual studies, yeah, berberine does seem to have an effect, but it's modest. We're talking an average loss of about 5 pounds over 3 months. Now, don't get me wrong, that's definitely helpful, but it's not the massive, dramatic results some of those social media posts might have you believing. And that brings us to what is without a doubt the most critical part of this whole conversation. Because berberine is such a potent compound, it also comes with some potent risks. This is not some harmless little herb you can just pop without a second thought. It is time for a serious reality check. First off, the most common side effects are all about your gut. A pretty significant number, up to 30% of people who take it, report having issues like diarrhea, constipation, and stomach cramps, especially when they're just starting out. Now, a lot of the time, these go away, but for some people, they stick around and are bad enough that they just stop taking it.
But here's the biggest risk, and I mean by a long shot, drug interactions. Let me break it down. Berberine slows down some key enzymes in your liver, specifically CYP3A4 and CYP2D6.
Think of these enzymes as your body's processing plant for medications. They're responsible for breaking down about half of all prescription drugs out there. So when berberine puts the brakes on them, it can cause other drugs to build up in your system to dangerous, even toxic levels. It's a lot like the warning you hear about grapefruit juice, but honestly, it could be even more powerful.
And this chart really puts berberine's power into perspective. When you stack it up against other well-known supplements, you can see it's right there in the high-risk category. It's on the same level of St. John's wort, which is pretty famous for having dangerous interactions. So we're not talking about a mild effect here. This is a strong one.
I want to be crystal clear about this. If you are on any of these types of medications, taking berberine without your doctor's okay can be incredibly dangerous. Mix it with diabetes drugs and you risk your blood sugar dropping way too low. With blood thinners, it can increase your risk of bleeding, and it can seriously mess with the levels of crucial drugs like immunosuppressants for organ transplants, statins for cholesterol, and blood pressure meds. The bottom line is simple. Medical supervision is absolutely 100% essential. So let's pull all of this together. We've seen the insane hype, we've dug into the science, and we've listened to the really serious warnings. So what's the final verdict on berberine? This chart right here shows you exactly why that nickname, Nature's Ozempic, is just so misleading. On one side, you've got berberine, an unregulated supplement with some promising but still limited evidence from small studies. On the other side, Ozempic, an FDA-approved prescription drug backed by massive clinical trials. They don't even work the same way. Berberine activates that AMPK enzyme we talked about, while Ozempic mimics a gut hormone. They are not in the same league. So here's what you really need to take away from all this. First, berberine is a potent, biologically active compound. It is not just a benign little supplement. Second, while some of the research looks promising, especially for conditions like PCOS, it's all still pretty new, and we just don't have good data on long-term safety. Third, the risks are very real, especially those drug interactions. And all of that leads to the single most important point. You absolutely must talk to a doctor before you even think about starting it. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. In this age of viral health trends, where a supplement can get a flashy nickname and spread like wildfire online, you really have to ask yourself, is the risk here actually worth the click? It's something to think about.
If you want to analyze medical questions yourself in seconds, using evidence-based medicine principles, the link to the service is below the video.